Agenda, approval of the agenda for December 19th. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, there was a second. We have a first and second. All those in favor say yay.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
So that's the consent agenda, so we can approve that as a slate or one at a time.
You want to do it as
No, my motion was for the full consent agenda. Did I need to specify?
Nope, we're good. Are we?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So now we'll go on to D. And we have a presentation on tourism economics presented by Chuck Davidson, Vice President of Attribution Solutions.
Yeah, and I'll welcome Mr. Davidson, Ben McDonald, Senior Director of Communications and Public Affairs. We have a contract with Tourism Economics, runs through this month, and the board approved last December to continue that. So we get that contract coming back up here in the next few weeks. But for the last year, as of December, when we approved that contract, Tourism Economics has completed the 2023 Economic Impact Report. They oversee and look through the data from credit card spend and visitor origination, stemming from cell phones that we track coming into Washoe County. And we've been receiving those reports. We've been honing those reports in a little bit, so hopefully those are working out for everybody. And again, those are at the end of the presentation that you guys can, that the board can go through. And if you ever have any questions or if you want to see anything else in those reports, or don't care to see some of the things in those reports, just let us know. We can make those updates, and we do that through our partner, Tourism Economics, and VP Attribution Solutions, Chuck Davidson, is here to give us an update on last year.
Great, thank you very much. Let's just let the record reflect that we do now have presence at Commissioner Hill. So welcome, thank you. Happy holidays.
Well, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you. So I'm Chuck Davidson, as Ben said, the Vice President of Attribution Solutions at Tourism Economics. I joined the team over the summer, but I spent the last 10 years as CEO of a regional destination on the central coast of California, Visit SlowCal, community of 8 cities and an unincorporated county, 45 elected officials. I know very well what it is to sit in my seat and do the work that you're talking about today. Before that, I was Vice President of North America for Expedia, running their activities division, and I was actually born and raised on the other side of the state in Las Vegas, where I grew up in the casino industry, working for Mirage Resorts, MGM Resorts, and Icon Gaming. So long history in travel and tourism, know what it's like to sit in these meetings and help facilitate them and serve at the pleasure of the board. And happy to be here today to talk to you about the work that we're doing on your behalf. So we're going to cover a couple things. We're going to move at a pretty quick clip because we've only got about 15 minutes, but I want to talk to you about some of the national trends, talk to you about the travel trends, some local market performance, which includes the economic impact report that Ben referenced. And then I'm going to give you just a quick glimpse into some of the risk scenarios that are currently out there with the change in the presidency coming here in the next 30 days or so. So on a national standpoint, numbers continue to really advance over these last couple of years, although we're definitely seeing a softening. We see here the travel spending on a year-over-year basis. We see growth there. We see growth in the overall air passengers in the U.S. You see that big, pretty significant uptick of almost 13% in overseas arrivals, finally starting to see a rebound in that, although it's still pacing well behind 2019. We'll look at that on a future slide. Hotel demand, U.S.-wide, again, beginning to kind of pace out and even out there. That's going to be consistent with what we're seeing here in the market in Reno, and a pretty significant increase still in the short-term rental demand on a U.S. basis. We see here both again the hotel and air service numbers showing resilience with the hotel demand coming in at 100% and the air service at 108, and that's pretty consistent as we look into the travel spending numbers, and we're going to see this reflected in a future set of slides on consumer sentiment. But the travel spending numbers up 13.2% as of the latest data, and that's pretty consistent even with what you saw in your 2023 numbers of about a 6% bump from 2022. So when we're looking at the travel trends, one of the things I want to call some attention to is we're beginning to see a delinquency rate increase in credit card spending. And if you look at this chart, what you're seeing in those gray bars is the 3 recessions that have occurred over about the last 2 decades, with the last one being that blip that we see in 2022. are in 2020, you see a pretty significant dive in the credit card delinquency rate coming out of the pandemic, and that was really due to the government stimulus. That's also unfortunately creating the credit card delinquency rate that we're seeing now, because as that stimulus stopped, as we know, that stimulus also helped the influx that we've seen in inflation. And now we're seeing prices driven up, and many households are needing to use their credit cards to carry their expenses on a monthly basis. Travel continues to see really good consumer sentiment, up to almost 60% on this question that was posed of thinking carefully about how you expect to spend your income over the next 3 years. How are you prioritizing travel? We see that the top 3 buckets of somewhat high, or extremely high priority, those numbers continue to tick up. And that's consistent with what we're seeing in the enthusiasm for leisure travel too. That's hit an all-time high here in the latest report of September. And we're also seeing a significant increase in individuals setting aside dollars on their budget for travel. That's typically coming in the mid to higher level household incomes. We'll see the data on the backside of that reflected in a future slide as well. Group demand continues to grow, has now eclipsed 2019 levels.
Yeah, listening people can't see it. Okay, that was my bad.
We don't want them to miss out.
We do not.
Technology.
Is that where you at?
Group demand back above 2019 levels, obviously important for a market like yours with the convention space. Optimism from a meeting planner standpoint continues to see strong results performing above that 50% threshold level. So they continue to be excited about what's ahead and the growth in that market. The air service piece is a bit of a mixed bag. So as you can see on the slides, the black numbers is the U.S. Outbound air service, blue numbers, U.S. inbound into the United States. Obviously, if you think back to the pandemic, as the market started to open up and Americans had dollars, we were traveling, abroad, much of that traffic into Europe. Much different for them with the restrictions coming out of their countries and some of the restrictions that the United States put in place, along with the valuation of the dollar. It's made it really hard for that international business to return. It's not value for them to come here when they could travel in their regions for a much significant price. So with that said, the numbers on the inbound service have picked up tremendously over the last 2 years, and we continue to see that growth. So let's take a look at Reno. Your air passenger numbers continue to show growth on a year-over-year basis, both on the enplanement and deployment side. And we're seeing that in the arrival period overall. So back to near 2019 levels over this last 18 months, trying to push above those numbers. Occupancy in the market still working to recover. You see that line as you got into kind of May, June, July, and finally eclipsed in August. But a sharper and quicker turn in 2024 on a downward slope than it has been in the last 2 years. And we see that reflected in the ADR numbers as well, where again, when we look at August, close to pacing on 2023, but a fall off about 2 months in advance from what you had in the previous year. And that is really hampering the RevPAR growth, obviously, as we look at those occupancy and ADR numbers collectively together. But I think one of the important stories in consideration here is the increase in supply that you have seen over 2024, and ultimately you're picking up that in your demand. So the demand is covering the additional supply that's coming to the market. You see there in that October pacing kind of right on point with where you've been for the last 2 years, even with additional supply in the market. Marketing team doing an incredible job with the website traffic that's driven in here. When you dive deeper into these numbers, you really see the channel management side of that, doing a really good job, and you got a lot of paid search and paid social driving these numbers at a high rate. The other thing to kind of call out of notice is I think the numbers were about 70% plus on new visitors to the website. So that's a really good indicator of kind of what we're going to see in some of these travel numbers, which is ultimately informing this work in the second half of the year of the pickup on domestic overnight share. So you see in the first half of the year, the blue line being 2024, that greenish line being 2023, kind of underpacing the 2023 performance, eclipsing that over the summer, and now running well ahead of the pace in the pickup of overnight share into the market. And that's really reflected in your LOS data on length of stay. So a pickup of 2023, 2.4 days to 2.9 days in 2024. This is, as Ben had pointed to in his introduction, this is a zero, what's known as footfall geo-traffic location data. It's tied to your cell phone. If you don't realize, everything you do is being tracked. And so the ability to understand kind of where you go in a market, when you show up in market, how long that phone stays in market using what's called CEL or common evening location data. We know where your phone sleeps at night, and we know where your phone works in the day. And when your habit reports are different, right, we're able to capture that in this information here. And that trend remains really strong too. You see this performance line on the top, again, being 2024, pacing well ahead of where you were in 2023. And even the numbers now, as they start to slow down coming into the fall and the winter, pacing well above where you ended 2023 last year. That's really that additional length of stay being driven by what we're seeing here. So in the left-hand column, this is 2023 versus 2024 data. Call your attention to the dark blue numbers at the bottom. This is visitors traveling in from a 500-mile plus radius into the market. You see in 2023, that was 27.4% of the share, almost 32% of the share in 2024. So again, your team's doing a really good job of driving that farther, customer into the market. We know from research that customers who travel farther stay longer and they spend more money. And that's what we're seeing reflected here in these numbers. The flip side of that coin is those percentage increases have to come from somewhere. And in this case, they are mostly coming from the Sacramento DMA and the fall off in visitation from those communities. So I know it's being blocked by the picture of the Zoom, but that number for Sacramento is coming in just above 16%. So you lost about 3.5% of the visitation in that drive regional market, which is, again, in a good way being substituted by a 500 miles or farther radius, longer length of stay, and likely a much higher spend. Reno is outpacing Vegas on a year-over-year percentage job growth scenario. So you see you've picked up a lot of workers back into the industry this year on a percentage basis over what's happened last year. So let's take a look at the economic impact spending of 2023. Numbers coming in at 3.3 billion. You see that growth on that chart in the middle, kind of coming out of 2019, hitting record numbers. Growth for 2023, about 6%, 6.2%. And you see that pretty consistently, you would if that box was not there, but you see this pretty consistently by every single segment. Gaming, flat. But some significant growth, double-digit growth in both recreation and transportation. And the reason it's important to take note of that, when we look at things like longer length of stay, recreation is going to be a significant driver in that. The more we can encourage people to do when they are in the community, the longer they're going to stay and the more money they're going to spend. So that's a really important driver and a significant opportunity, which we'll see here in the summary. So again, on the economy side, economy's doing pretty well. Fears of a recession in that, in our opinion of tourism economics, we have 400 economists on staff. This is the information that we are rooted in and what we do. Those are a little bit overblown, although you have seen a softening in the market, but not alarmingly so. Resilient labor market and the inflation numbers continue to kind of create a little bit of insight into that. Obviously, we saw the Fed make the decision earlier this week to cut rates again, but a decision in 2025 to move from what was a proposed 4 rate cuts to 2. We'll see how that plays out in inflation overall. Households, again, on the lower income side, continue to be pinched and struggle, and that's mostly, again, driven by inflation. And the election impacts for 2025 at least look to be pretty limited, and we'll talk about this in the risk scenario in just a second. From a travel perspective, again, those lower tier hotels, that's where we're seeing the softening. Mid upscale, that's where the growth is occurring, both in occupancy and ADR. The lower end struggling a little bit to hold the market. Definitely some softening in markets, but leisure travel continues to have really good consumer sentiment and high demand in order to fill that capacity through budget. Business travel starting to rebuild. It's great to see that above 2019, so a positive trend for group, and again, important to a market like this. On the convention side, international inbound, definitely pacing well, but still significantly behind, about 12 points behind 2019. So that probably, although we'll see growth in 2025, will continue to hold based on a number of things, including the valuation of the dollar and what the restrictions remain on China travel back into the United States. In the rental market, again, great performance in starting to level out in the air service recovery. Significant supply growth in 2024 that you have been able to absorb, which is great. We see that fly market increase in visitation for longer travel period into the market, which is really driving that length of stay on a year-over-year basis. And that spending growth in food and beverage, recreation, and transportation are really opportunities for the market to continue to press in from a marketing standpoint to those to create scenarios where those guests can stay longer and spend more. So 2 things I want to highlight for you, just real quick on a risk and scenario placing. We're monitoring a series of things that include both a victory in inflation and that subsiding and trying to move the market. What you're looking at here is demand on the bottom half, stronger to the right, weaker to the left. Financial conditions on the left-hand vertical, those easing going to the top and tightening going to the bottom. So inflation, the Middle East escalation, and a full-blown Trump presidency, 3 of the big things that are in the monitor. And so the last piece here that I really want to share with you is these key policy assumptions. Obviously, there's some big consideration around what's going to happen with corporate tax rate and business tax. There's a repeal of a series of tax credits that's likely to occur. We've got the reduction that's going to happen in some of the social benefit expenditures and a higher rate of funding in defense and possibly some other areas. The tariff scenario continues to be something that we keep our eye on, although some of those conversations have been walked back by the president-elect just over the last week. So we'll see how those things begin to play out. And obviously the impact of what's going to happen in the immigration policy. So what you're seeing in this graph is this is real GDP based on a full-blown Trump scenario. That full-blown Trump scenario is a model. There were 6 models going into the election, 3 for the Harris campaign, 3 for the Trump campaign. It was really positioned originally that it would be a split scenario where the House and the Senate would be split. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. It's a full scenario now. And so what we're seeing here is the GDP line growth over this next decade. And in the red, we're looking at the influx of what's going to happen based on fiscal policy. In the blue, we're looking at the impact from immigration. In the gold, we're looking at the tariff scenario. And the gray bar is the monetary policy that's coming out of the Fed. That line that's running through the middle of them is the net effect. So what we're seeing here is a growth in GDP over these next couple of years as the president-elect comes into office. But if these policies end up playing out the way that they are currently proposed, specifically the scenario of tariffs, you see this pretty significant decline there in the years following those initial increases. So we update this information quarterly and continue to monitor it, and happy to continue to share that out. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Very detailed information. I think you mentioned in there about the recession, and we're seeing with some Fed action yesterday going away from an inverse yield curve back to an upward sloping yield curve, which is another indicator that recession is further down. And I think Jerome Powell yesterday even mentioned that. So I think that bodes well. Any questions or comments? Okay,
Mr.
yes.
I just commend staff for doing this work. Thank you so much. And that was a great presentation. If we could get that email to us, because I don't think I have that in my packet, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, continue moving on. D2, members of senior leadership will deliver updates and current activities and initiatives. Mike Larragetta, turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair Mike Larragetta, for the record. Very quick update today from senior staff, from myself and Ms. Ernie. Okay, so you guys get her going here. Mostly just updates from travel and business production the last few months, and then Christina's got some updates on marketing and the track and the videos. There you go. They're working the magic. I hope. There we go. Okay, first and foremost, my pleasure to recognize Nicole Duxbury as our Spotlight Employee of the Month winner for the month of October. And we actually just awarded Courtney Mann this morning for the month of December, so for November. So congratulations to both those employees who did a fabulous job for us. So update on the public bowling days. We continue, and Courtney Mann actually is kind of spearheading this, but we continue to showcase the NBS with local partners and charities. And you can kind of see the impact we're having with over 1,700 bowlers and over $10,000 is being raised for charities. And the goal is to keep that up. And we've even had discussions internally about a similar concept with the track. We'll say probably in year 2, but we'd love to do something like that as well. Speaking of track, we just held our first meet. Actually, it had 2 meets, but this meet was the first one, hosted by the University of Nevada, December 5 through 7. 32 universities and teams are represented with over 440 athletes, and we tracked 843 room nights. Those room nights are specifically validated by the hotels as it relates to teams, coaches, trainers. So obviously we know that number would be higher when you start factoring in significant others, grandparents, people that come to watch these athletes perform. But it was a pretty amazing event, and I encourage you all to come out and see the next meet if you can. Just some still photos we took, pretty impressive. And then thank you all of you that attended our VIP event and the opening ceremonies for Cut the Ribbon. We RSVP'd 175, and we had 270 people join us for the evening. So really good event. Thank you to Good Giant Ben. We got some great local coverage. We got some national coverage. It is still a buzz right now as it relates to this indoor track and Tahoe.
Mark, you and your staff did a fantastic job, from the reception to the ribbon cutting. A number of us were there, and I'd just like to say thank you for what a great event. And I know, like you said, it was talk of the town.
Appreciate it, and thank you for those kind words to staff. I'd be remiss not to thank them, because the time and the amount of energy and work that went into preparing for that evening, I think they were all ready to kill me, but they did a fabulous job, and I can't thank them enough.
And actually, to add to Richard's, what I was really impressed with, not just the numbers, I walked in, I'm like, whoa, look how many people are here, but it was just a full cross section. So it was really cool to see so many people from so many different businesses, community, a true cross section of people that were there, and obviously your track enthusiasts, and yeah, it was great. It was great.
I thought it was a wonderful event, much bigger and more professional than I really thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be like a track opening. We were just going to be standing around the track, but it was a very professionally done event.
Thank you.
Great time.
Appreciate it. So moving on from the track, you may have noticed if you walk through our facilities, some new murals that are going up, and actually Haley Middles is actually finishing up the entry right now. And so I just want to recognize her for her talent and what she's done for us. And we're not done yet. We'll also do add some artwork in here in the executive conference room, and I think one more hallway, right? Yeah. So done a fabulous job. Very cool. Really speaks to our brand.
And if I can, real quick,
Oh, yeah.
add, that we also used Haley's artwork on our holiday cards this year as well. So when you see them, there's several different designs that she did for us that are reflected on the card.
Thanks for removing it. Okay, quick update on convention sales. So, we went and did an event again for this is our third year in Kansas City, and thank you, Mr. Avasar and Mr. Long for joining us. I told Eddie that I was gonna show the picture on the bottom right is actually the pregame hype speech with this. And I think we're paying SpongeBob in the background, maybe.
SpongeBob.
Yes, it was SpongeBob.
There you go.
So we had a great event. Weather was a little iffy, but we got lucky. I think our photo count was 32 customers. It's a great event, but again, thank you, members of the board, for joining us for that event. It's great.
Thank you. Mike, has there been any follow-up from some of those potentials? I know I have a follow-up with the
Yes.
AAOA.
Yeah, so we, as you can imagine, as soon as the event consumes, we follow up both electronically and call them. And Emily, who's the regional director in that territory, obviously goes through and makes sure that she follows up directly with every single client. But yes, we have some leads that are
Some good leads.
potential. Yes, sir.
And I would just say, if they're coming to visit, I know sometimes they come and visit, I know Greg, not speaking for you, but we'd love to make myself available and say hello to them again. They appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Just some of the big wins. This is one in particular that our sports team has been chasing for nearly 5 years. And it came down to us up against Ocala, Florida, who has made significant financial investments in their facilities and their sports arenas. And I'm happy to report that Reno was selected to host USARS in 2025. And what's amazing is in the world of meetings and conventions and group business, it is unheard of for us to book anything of this significance in such a short window. This will consume this July coming up in 25. They will be here for almost a month. And when it's all said and done, you'll have 13,000 total room nights that will consume this July, and they'll be in the convention center. And so kudos to Nick Sacamano and the sports team for bringing that to Tahoe. Great job. Oops. Okay. And a few more large M&C wins that we like to share on a monthly or bi-monthly basis with the board of what the team, both M&C and sports, have contracted in the last 30 to 60 days. So as I mentioned, USA Roller Sports, also the sports team booked USA Volleyball Junior National Girls 18s, which is for April of 26. So on top of NCVA, having USA Volleyball, the National Girls 18s in there, we will be, I think, between NCVA and this almost 30,000 room nights of volleyball in the months of April and the first weekend of May. And then Key Communications Auto last week also just contracted in the last month for 2,500 room nights. So over 20,000 or 29,000 room nights in the group segment contracted in the last 60 days. So great job by them.
Excellent.
And then in terms of sales, we only thing I wanted to mention was recently, and I know Mr. J, you attended this, we did the 10-year anniversary for Belarus. It was very well received, a lot of discussion about opportunities with Belarus in new markets coming into Reno. I think Mr. Griffin shared with me, they have over 100 aircraft that they are trying to place in the next year. And so Reno's on the top of the list there, and so hopefully we'll be adding some service from Mexico into Reno in the near future. Okay.
Awesome. So I'm going to kick off for those of you who were at the track event, and then for those who weren't, just one of the videos that we showed at the grand opening event. And this video is really part of a greater campaign that will be more focused on aligning the Reno Tahoe destination with the running community. So it goes beyond the track. Obviously, it ties into the track, but we want to showcase that Reno Tahoe is not only a great place to have competitions, but it is a great place to come, and whether you're participating in a fun run or a trail run or the Odyssey or any of these events that we have in our area, that we really want to position and align ourselves. So when people think of the track, that they also think of Reno Tahoe being a running community. So this is the first video out of a series that we are going to produce. We worked with a local production company, with some influencers, some who run ultra marathons, and I'm happy to share this video with you all today. We have staff.
Why do we run?
Oh, we might restart it then.
What drives us out in the quiet morning, through the heat?
This is already playing on social, right?
We did share it on.
It is so good. I
Yeah.
saw this and I was so excited. It is so good.
Thank you. 3-6 Productions did it.
Oh,
really
well.
Yeah. We'll try again.
You're still on Zoom.
Zoom can hear it. Say the magic words, abracadabra again.
Abracadabra. Thank you, Chris. Do I not have powers anymore?
Why do we run? What drives us out in the quiet morning? Through the heat, the cold, the grind. Through the long days and longer nights. Maybe it's the search for something deeper. Not a finish line, but a space to be free. Running is more than a routine. It's a calling. We run to challenge our limits, to prove ourselves. Every breath, every stride connects us to something bigger. A community bound by movement. Along desert paths, up mountain peaks, we find energy in the terrain. We run to see, to hear, to feel connection with the world around us. It's the escape from the noise, from the rush. It's our time for reflection and exploration. It's to chase the fleeting moments where exhaustion turns to triumph and the mind becomes still. So why do we run? We run because we must. We run because we can.
Great video.
Thank you. Yeah, really, it was so great to see the whole community come together and our team. Really big thank you to the marketing team. I mean, in 3-6, the track, as many of you know, got finished the week of our first event, and they were often in the facility late at night trying to finish this video. And so huge kudos to the entire team for getting this done. And we're excited to see how this campaign continues to play out over the years. So thank you so much. While we for this video, we also got some photography. These are just a couple of shots of just what the track looks like. If you haven't seen it in some of our branding that is throughout the track, it's really neat seeing our brand all, even on the hurdles that the athletes jump over. It's really cool to see. So just want to share a couple of those. And I also just wanted to say and extend to this board how grateful and thankful we used real athletes in this video. And they were all, thank you so much for bringing this track to Northern Nevada. They were they were the modeling in our video, but they were so grateful and thankful. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well, the impact of this decision. So as Mike mentioned, the grand opening event went really well. We do have a quick recap video if you weren't able to make it that I'm hoping to share as well today.
There's a new player in town. Reno is continuing to grow and prosper.
Are you ready to hit the ground running? We're so excited.
It's inspiring for me to see a community like this, which is devoted to expanding access throughout the Western United States to become a premier destination for sports and for tourism.
Reno Tahoe's own Mondo Indoor Track, where speed meets innovation and every stride feels like flying.
This track stands above every track in the United States.
As a competitive figure skater, I love nothing more than sport. It gives a sense of camaraderie. It's so important for our economy, our health, our mental health.
This Reno Tahoe Indoor Track represents opportunity. These are programs that will bring visitors to the state of Nevada, supporting small businesses and the tourism industry as a whole.
Thank you for supporting this investment and believing in our vision. May it inspire countless records, unforgettable races, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Let's keep pushing the limits. Let's all hit the ground running.
Again, kudos to the team, such a great event. And then I'm not gonna show this last video today, but we will be posting it online. That video was produced by Chimera, another local production company. And they did a whole time lapse of the track build from the very first truck that went into the convention center to the final uncovering. So we'll be posting that online, and be sure to take a look because it's so impressive to watch a massive track get built in our convention center. I think it's really cool, at least.
Great job on that logo, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
thank
that's
you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we did that internally with the marketing team,
I agree
so,
with that. That's
big
great.
kudos to the team, we, did it internally with David Dorn, our graphic designer, so,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass over to Ben real quick to just briefly cover, a couple of, as Mike mentioned, we had some huge PR efforts, both nationally and locally from our agencies, and really proud of them.
Yeah, obviously, as we're building the track, we have to build a base around it for attention, the national spotlight. Make sure that the individuals that are gonna be booking events here for the next 10 years know that we're here. The national coverage for the track, I think for sports in general it's a pretty tight-knit community, right? There's not a lot. So we were fortunate to have 2 journalists join us for the track grand opening. That week, December 5th to the 7th, Adam Trout from Sports Travel Magazine and All Star Group, and Tim O'Hearn, who is working with Fansided. And it's really exciting to see how aggressively excited track people are. The journalists are writing about track because they love the sport, right? It's more than a job for them. And Tim O'Hearn is a track and cross-country athlete, and he actually competed in the first event. So one thing I learned the last couple of months is that some of these events are open, and if you can qualify, you can get in. So we're actually hosting somebody else in February, a cross-country runner who's gonna come compete on the track as well, for Runner's World. But Tim, I think that we put this quote up because I think it's pretty impactful for somebody who lives and breathes track to say that the convention center may be a centerpiece in the new era of track and field unfolding in America. And we've heard that a lot from our national efforts. Locally, we're working with Good Giant. They did a fantastic job. We got all of the local stakeholders from a media perspective that we would want. About Sportsnet, KTVN, Colo, all the TV stations, RGJ, Jim Krajewski was there during the opening day. Didn't make it to the event, but he was there for the actual opening day of the first track meet hosted by the University of Nevada. And the Northern Nevada Business Weekly and Nevada Appeal. This is just a couple examples, and I can't remember where I was, but last weekend I was at some event, probably some sporting event, and I was talking to somebody that I don't know very well. And, oh, what's going on? Oh, I work at the RSCVA, and we just put the track up. Don't know if you heard about it. And this woman had heard about it. Not involved in the track world at all, but she was very aware. She said she saw it on the news, so I felt great about that. You don't get those stories every day from people that you just meet. So we're definitely making an impact. This is a huge project, very important. We appreciate the support of the board and the confidence that you all have in us. And from a national and local perspective, we are spreading the word.
Thank you, Ben. Real quick, just a couple of quick marketing updates. I briefly mentioned, for this fall, we ran a partnership with Strava, and we had just a few quick numbers. We had almost 40,000 people who joined the Reno Tahoe Challenge. 30,000 finished it, which is over than 530,000 total activities. So if you guys don't know, Strava tracks, outdoor activity, whether you're skiing or biking or running. But I did want to highlight that over 33% of the activities completed were running based. 29 were riding, was the second closest, but we're going to do another challenge here after the kick of the new year, to kickstart your Healthy 2025. What year is it? Healthy 2025. And really tying in running in the track with some of our brand media partnerships as well to really expand that awareness.
Oh, can I ask
Oh,
a question?
yep.
on that? So just, how many people signed up for the Reno, the No Limits Challenge?
39,600.
Signed up?
Yep,
Amazing.
And then 35,
30,000 finished the challenge.
30,000.
We set a challenge, so it is to be active 420 minutes every week for 3 weeks.
Are they all, I mean, do we know where they're based?
Yes, they are, we do, they are around the country. These are not, this
Okay.
is not a local focused campaign. Obviously, we want individuals to come and visit us, and so
So globally or whatever, throughout the country, you're telling me, so we have 39,000 people sign up to this challenge. And what was the incentive?
So, if you're on Strava, you can be a paid advertiser like Reno Tahoe and, be like, hi, everyone, join our challenge. Okay, so Christina Ernie joins this challenge and the incentive is you want a free trip to Reno Tahoe if you completed it. You were entered to win a trip to Reno Tahoe
Okay.
if you completed the challenge. You didn't automatically
Did
win.
we give, I mean, did someone
Yeah,
win?
we did. And we even did an incentive up first. The first 100 people won a like Reno Tahoe like swag, which we sent them some stickers in the mail. And a couple people won t-shirts that we sent out, but yes, there is an incentive.
So I guess, is there a follow-up to this now, January? I mean, 40,000 people on, there it is, so like the follow-up for all the Odyssey and all the other things that we do here to do
Yep.
more, okay.
So with this directly, we got 3,500 of them asked as we signed up for our newsletter and get constant communication from us. So you bet we will be following up with them. And we're gonna be doing another challenge here as well.
So we are doing
Yep.
another one?
Yep.
Okay. And I mean, how much does that cost?
It was minimal. It was $88,000, but it was with paid media and we were on the Strava social media channels. We were in their email databases. And so it goes out to the greater community and then say Christina Ernie signs up. Friend Mike Larragetta is like, oh, Christina Ernie is doing the Reno Tahoe Challenge. What's going on in the Reno Tahoe Challenge? So that added awareness that expands beyond.
So we spent $2 basically per person. And that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Huge return.
Christina, quick question on that. When you say the program was skewed to male participants, was that intentional or that was the results?
That was the results, actually.
And obviously you're doing analytics on that and then what you might shift if you're trying to expand that to get more women involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have like some things that we do. We're doing currently a buy with a brand called Tiny Beans that's more geared towards moms. So we really look at our whole media mix as a whole and don't need a 50-50 on every single thing that we're doing, but it's just interesting. And I think that goes to the Strava base. More of the Strava users are male is what their teams have explained to us. And so that's who participated in our challenge specifically. But yeah. And just like this type of the people who, the audience that Strava, they're ambitious, they are active. We really feel it aligns closely with the potential visitor that might come to our area. So that's another reason. In front of them. So that was one. These are just two of many that we are doing, but I just want to bring them to your attention. As tourism economics highlighted, the Sacramento area softened a little bit. So we went this winter and we have done a buy with the Sacramento Kings and so the Sacramento Kings and the Golden One Center. So they aren't just the Kings, they own that whole venue. And with that, all of the advertising, all the billboards around the venue, exterior and interior, also all the concerts. So in October, this is only for October, not only were we at 4 Kings games, but also 3 concerts that were happening. And so we can do just brand takeovers in the entire arena, interior and exterior. Also included in this partnership is broadcast, radio, social media coverage. You can see that on the bottom, even when this is being broadcasted on TV, often in our target markets, they can see the Reno Tahoe logo in the background of that broadcast for added value. We also in October had Slamson, if you don't know, that is the mascot of the Sacramento Kings. And he came to the Reno Tahoe area and did a whole social media takeover. He went to our events such as Offbeat Festival. He went mountain biking. He went to the Reno Arch. He did all you can eat sushi. He's a very active mascot. So he's actually coming back as well for a second time this winter. He's gonna go skiing and do some other activities here in the area. So that has been so far a huge success with the Kings. So I will be doing a full report after the full season. We are working with them the full season. This is just October numbers, but I wanted to share some highlights with you there. Last but not least, many of you have heard that we were the outside ski and snowboard gear test host city for this winter. We hosted them at the end of last winter, and then we got all of the exposure here leading into this winter. So they were at Mount Rose and Diamond Peak, and they were hosted here in Reno at the Geo Resort actually. And this is the first time Outside has partnered with a city to host their ski and snowboard test. Usually they partner with a resort destination and stay just locally at that resort the whole time. We had such positive feedback having them here in our city, which was great. And I just wanted to read a couple of the headlines. Diamond spades and world-class blades behind the scenes of our 2025 ski and snowboard tests. And then an added value piece that we got that wasn't part of our partnership with them was why was Reno the ultimate base camp for the 2025 Winter Gear Guide ski test? And that actually they even interviewed Mike Largetta in that article, and that was an added PR piece. Just they saw so much traction from having this here in Reno and hosting it here in Reno that they saw value in wanting to produce more content on their sites. So they reached back out to us because we were, I think, double their benchmarks in terms of all of their KPIs on their website. And this also expanded beyond just ski and snowboards. This was gloves, helmets, goggles, jackets. So even if you're not a skier or a snowboarder, you still got exposure to the Reno Tahoe destination hosted by Reno Tahoe. These are the best gloves for 2025 that you should get no matter where you live. So this has been a great partnership with Outside, and we have a couple more partnerships in the work that I'm happy to share with you guys here in a little bit. But couple of paid media features I just wanted to highlight here as well for fall. We did promote the new exhibit at the museum. It got over 1 million engagements. Our fall and winter ads had over 130,000 completed views. People are really excited, and part of these initiatives are really trying to highlight having visitors come here during our needs periods during this fall season. And so also having curated content like these fall leaves with influencer Holly on TikTok also performed really well as well, with the 7% click rate, which is pretty high for an ad on social media. I'm not gonna go into these in detail, but they are in your board packet. Just an overview of our paid media ads for October and November for both leisure and M&C. And on these heat maps, you can kind of see what Tourism Economics was highlighting on our fly destinations in addition to our local market, or where our people are seeing our ads. Also in here, I'm gonna quickly go through all of this, is the earned media with our PR efforts also in here for October and November, obviously some sports features. And then we have our tourism economics data that is always in your board packets. We're not going to it again today because we already heard an update from tourism economics, but that's all I have.
Thank you. A lot of detail there. Good job. Any questions, comments? Mike, anything else?
No, I just want to recognize the team, the whole process of, from presenting to this board to fulfillment of this track coming to Reno Tahoe is just an amazing feat. And it's a very proud moment to be a part of it. And some of the comments we heard during the first meet was not only, is this potentially one of the best facilities on the West Coast, it's one of the best facilities in the country. So I think there's just so much opportunity for us, in this time period when we desperately need tourism to increase, and I think the indoor track is going to get us there.
I agree. 100%. Okay, great. Well, let's continue.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I think we really need to have a big thank you to Hillary and the rest of the team that had to negotiate this down to the wire with UNR. I mean, we all sound here and we get the great part of the promotion of it. Now we're in it. We own it, we in it, and we got to go. But I love the fact that it took a lot to get this over the finish line. And, and I got to thank Mike and Hillary for staying strong, truly, and the rest of the board to support this, because this is just the kind of things that you do. If you're in Vegas and you're doing Las Vegas events, they don't bat an eye at something like this. In Reno, we shouldn't be batting an eye about any opportunities to bring any kind of business here, because we can't afford not to bat an eye. We have to spend some money to get stuff done, to compete anymore. And it's only, you can see where the numbers are. It shows you that tourism is going to get competitive again. So again, thank you to everybody here that did this, and the team and staffs. And I'm telling you, you guys are the winning team. UNR is lucky to have us. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, great comment, Rick. Thank you so much for that. And I agree. And Mike, this all started off in the golf course, as the story goes. And, 2.5 years later, I believe, correct? 2.5 years. Look where we are. So great. Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate those comments. Okay, anything else before we move on?
Just quickly.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was interesting how a lot of the experts were saying that there were going to be some world records broken on that track. So that'll bring even more visibility to Reno and that track. So that was great to hear.
Well, didn't you set one while you were there? There you go. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Well, let's keep moving forward. Board matters. E1, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the indoor track use and trade out agreement with the University of Nevada to follow the use of the RSCVA indoor track facilities by the University of Nevada track team. I'll let Mike start off with it.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mike Larigetta for the record. Yes, so great segue to talk about the contract with the University of Nevada. To echo Mr. Murdoch's comments, thank you for the support. It has been a lot of back and forth, but we've come to an agreement. Thank you to Shelley Klein's hard work, to Mr. Kennedy working with University of Nevada's attorney, and those terms have been worked out. And so what is being presented to the board today is a 2-year contract with an auto renewal that would include this season and next season. And then, as you all remember, when we started this process, if the contract and the trade value was based on storage and transportation, we have pivoted away from that for various reasons, which we think is in the best interest in the longevity and the lifespan of the track. So we negotiated a deal with this contingency plan to basically remove a lot of the equipment that we had in storage at the castle. It's about an 8,000 square feet facility. And we asked the University of Nevada to provide the expense of covering the HVAC unit over the original 10-year term of the contract, and then what they call racking system, which allows us to store the track. And so why is this, do we think this was incredibly valuable and good move on our part, is the less that we have to put that track on semis and transport it across town or anywhere is only going to prolong the life of the track. So having the ability to store it right on site and eliminate that transportation aspect as much as possible was a huge advantage. The flip side to that, the University of Nevada will host up to 6 meets per year. They will have 40 practices, and then we will provide opportunities the best as our ability. If the facility is not available, we will try and get them into some of our facilities to hold practices as well. And this is Mr. King.
Sure, so I'll take direction from the board, and I apologize, we had a memo sort of outlining the terms that due to schedules, we didn't get it into the packet earlier. It's in your materials now. I'm happy to sort of walk through the key terms of the agreement, or everybody's or people have had a chance to look at it and they have questions. Sort of whatever the board would like. I'm happy to.
Questions on the contract?
I do.
Yes, please.
On the actual agenda item, the last item, the complimentary access, the University of Nevada athletic competitions and events throughout the term of the agreement. What would be the monetary value of that? I know the fees we're getting that are outlined 21 and 11,000, but in that's kind of really broad. What does it include, and what would be estimated fiscal value of that to us?
Sure. So in the agenda item, the 21,500 in the first year is the cost of the racking system and the prorated cost of the HVAC system. So to convert the castle to be able to store the track, you need the racking system, and the track has to be stored with climate control. And so it needed an HVAC system as well. So the agreement with the university is they would pay the racking system, or they would reimburse for the racking system, and they would reimburse for the HVAC over a 10-year period. So the 21.5 in the first year is the racking and the first payment on the HVAC. The 11.5 in the second year and thereafter is the HVAC payment. As far as the trade out, and I've got a list here of what it entails.
Page 8.
Yeah.
Trade benefits.
Better glasses. Second here. So it is one dinner table at the Bobby Dolan dinner, one WPAA men's basketball preseason dinner table, one WPAA football preseason dinner table, football suite related tickets and parking passes, 6 women's soccer season tickets, 6 women's volleyball season tickets, 8 men's basketball season tickets and parking passes, 6 women's basketball season tickets, 6 baseball season tickets, 6 softball season tickets, and then the right to purchase post-game tickets or postseason tournament tickets for football, baseball, and basketball, men's and women's. And the trade value, so the university is assigned a value to the football suite and the basketball tickets. And
there's also one on governor's dinner table.
Oh, did I miss that one? Yes, that's also included. Sorry, bear with me here. The university has estimated the value of the football suite tickets and parking passes at $28,220. And the basketball tickets at $7,590. And the agreement with the university is if in any given season, we don't make the track available for up to 50 practices or at least 4 university meets, then they can reduce those trade benefits with the exception of the basketball and the football. So we're guaranteed the basketball tickets and the football suite. If we're not able to make the track available for the minimum practices and minimum meets, then they get a reduction in the balance of those trade benefits.
I was just kind of looking for an estimate on value, trade out value. Thank you.
That 35,000 is just for basketball and football.
Right.
It doesn't include soccer, dinners, so conceivably it could be pushing closer to about 45,000.
Yeah.
Is that a safe number? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know the suites are always filled and, you know, in basketball, we're starting off pretty strong, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, great question. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments?
I make a motion to approve the indoor track usage and trade out agreement as presented.
Okay, I have a motion. Yes,
So
sir.
can I add to that? So, and also we'd like to authorize Mayor Sheevy as the chair of the board to execute the agreement on behalf of the RSCVA.
Okay, so that's added to your motion. Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. All in favor, say yay.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Good job. This is very exciting. Okay. E2, RSCVA Board Appointment of Nevada Resort Association Board of Directors seat. Elected public official members of the board will consider the appointment of a representative board of directors nominated by Nevada Resort Association for a seat which is currently occupied by Rick Murdoch. Nevada Resort Association has nominated Glenn Carano of Caesars Entertainment and Larry Johnson of Caesars Entertainment. So go ahead and open that up. You want to?
Sure, so I'll just add that this appointment is to fill the seat currently being occupied by Mr. Murdoch, who was termed out. In your materials is a letter from Virginia Valentine, the president of the NRA, nominating Mr. Carano and Mr. Johnson. This is for a full 2-year term. The term will commence on January 1, 2025. And as always, this item is open for discussion by the entire board, but only the elected officials vote on the new member. With that, I will turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any discussion, questions, comments? Yes.
Before, and I'm ready to make a motion when you are, but first I'd like to thank Mr. Murdoch for his many years of contribution to this board, for his longstanding expertise in this space. We go back a long time. He knows my husband well. We've done all the gaming stuff together, and I think his longstanding in the community, his business acumen and casino industry, and the reminding us always that it's heads in beds, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the amount of time and energy you put into this and your expertise that you bring to the board. So Rick, I would like to acknowledge and thank you for your time on this board. Much appreciated.
Here, thank you very much. And I think on behalf of the entire board, Rick, thank you so much. You've just been an icon and we appreciate it. We know we're not gonna lose you. We know you're still gonna be around. So, any discussion? Okay, I think we're gonna, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can
Yeah.
I just want to say, you know, these are always so hard. Rick, you have been amazing. I am so fortunate to, have worked with you, but also all the work you've done over at the airport. You are just a trailblazer, and I'm so, so grateful for your service. And, we'll just find another board that we subject you to.
That's what he wants to hear.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart and all you do for this city. Your public service does not go unnoticed. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to make a motion to move forward with Mr. Carano.
Okay, we have a motion to accept Glenn Carano as a representative for the Nevada Resort Association Board of Directors seat.
I'll second that motion.
We'll second that, okay. Any further discussion? Okay, call for a vote, all in favor, yes?
Aye. You can only be, aye.
Oh, that's right, it's just you three, yeah, okay.
Aye, we need Hillary.
So we have two yes,
I meant-
Chairman? Yes? I didn't hear.
I made the motion, so.
Yes. Okay, so we call for a vote now, so we have a unanimous. Okay, we have a unanimous vote, appointing Glenn Carano of Caesar's Entertainment to replace Rick Murdoch for the Nevada Resort Association Board of Directors. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, item E3. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session. You want to comment on, or not? Okay, just turn it right over. Okay, Jesse, I'm sorry, Jesse.
All right. Good morning, board members, staff. Again, Jesse Wadhams with the law firm of Black and Wadhams. Again, proudly representing you guys at the legislative session, which is just 46 days away if you're counting at home. It starts February 3rd. Because it's been a little while since we last met as a full board, I'll just give you a very quick overview since the last time was September I presented. Since then, we had the election. I won't go into any major details on that, but the election turned out roughly status quo in Nevada for the legislative session. We have the Democrats controlling the state Senate 13-8, and the Democrats control the state assembly 27-15. Functionally, for a nonpartisan board like this, that doesn't much matter, but I think it's important to mention politically, it does allow the governor to veto, various things that may be political at the end of session for other folks. Right now, we are sitting at 971 bill draft requests. That roughly is now 2/3 of the final. We'll get to about 1,500 BDRs is the usual number. So most of the bill drafts are now in, and we have only seen so far, they do a lot of pre-file bills to sort of, in theory, prod the legislature to go forward a little faster and start in February. We'll see what they do. We have about 166 actual pieces of legislation written and drafted at this moment. So from September and then from direction at September and direction at the Legislative and Executive Committee, I have gone ahead and procured a BDR, bill draft request, looking at governance of the RSCVA, sort of timely in the last motion. That bill draft does two things. It amends NRS 244A 601 in two ways. It now will say that all members of the board can vote on new members joining the board. And it will further go to say that all members of the board are allowed to be chair of the board. That was based on direction.
And part of the reason I kind of had to move forward, and you gave me some latitude to do that, was that on December 10th was a major CDR deadline, which is now why we have 175 children. So happy to answer any questions of the board. Relatively straightforward process from here. We'll just go lobby the bill and get it done. But I take direction from you to move forward with the bill as you see fit.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jesse. Questions, comments?
I think I'll chime
Yes.
in, Mr. Vice Chair. Technical Legislative Subcommittee, we had some pretty robust conversations around this multiple times. I know from my perspective, I was acting on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. They voted as a board to support both concepts. And so as a representative, I brought forward and made a motion to support both concepts in the bill. One part of the conversation is if the legislature for any reason doesn't like one or the other, that we can amend the process and make sure to keep the bill alive to ensure that at least we get one portion of the change led statutorily. So I'm supportive of both today, and I think we've given some guidance to Jesse and his team to move forward, get the bill introduced, hopefully calendared for committee and presentation. I'll certainly be down the Capitol with them, assisting the process as well. But from the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, we support both concepts.
Great. Thank you very much for your insight. Yes.
Question, Jesse, can you tell us who, you said you have a sponsor?
Yes.
Can you disclose that or not?
I am happy to do so. It is in fact on the legislative website right now if you'd like to go see it, but it's BDR number 740, I believe. Don't fully quote me on that. And Assemblyman DeLong from here in Northern Nevada is currently holding that BDR. And I guess I should say, he has submitted that BDR with the language I provided to him, which essentially just does those two.
Okay, great. And then to follow up on that, when, even in committee, when it hopefully gets to committee, doesn't sit in a drawer, like some of them do, will you need any members of this board, either the chair or executive committee or chair down there for, you'll be monitoring it, but will you need any of us down there for any testimony or to answer questions?
Sort of a two-part question. Yes, I will be absolutely monitoring and making sure that this is moving through the process, talking to legislators as we're going forward, making sure that not only are they, as we get the bill drafted, we are talking about it to committee members, which will start an Assembly Government Affairs Committee. So we'll be working with the committee chair and committee members to make sure it's moving. That said, when we get to a hearing, I am always of the mindset that I'd rather have my clients present their bills. You know your business better. It's quite simply, you live the issues that you are asking to be addressed. And so, yes, I would absolutely want any one of you or all of you to the extent you want to come to Carson. And we would set that up just to make sure that you're presenting the bill or answering questions for folks.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes. To Councilman Biden's point, I think one of the things we talked about in subcommittee is, should we proceed with this process, it'd be valuable, I think, for the viability of the bill if our representative organizations also support that concept. I know that might be tricky for some of our elected bodies. I don't know if that's possible.
We can bring it to the county commission. We bring all bills that kind of touch us, and so I can have cadence flag that for us.
Awesome. I think it'd be great, and I think, not to step on Jesse's toes, but I think if we as the authority support this, and then, I know I could say that the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce voted to support the full bill. But if each one of our organizations can do that as well, I think it would just be.
I'm happy to talk Virginia and the NRA and see if we can get things done.
Yeah, I think that'd be
great.
Do we have any concern, I mean, given the narrow scope, do we have any concern about a rider, or is a rider even possible? If so, is there a narrow scope that a rider could be attached to it, or could it be anything?
Well, that's an interesting and loaded question. Having done this for a while, I have learned the hard way to never say that any bill is easy or simple. You don't know until you get into the process. That said, this is a narrow scope. It really only touches one statute. I think the risk of things is low, but look, you open a chapter and somebody might have some interest in it. Going to board member Avlasar's point, and I'm just thinking out loud, the more support, the more of the organizations could say, write a letter, or even maybe the RSCVA writes sort of a letter with all the signatories to it. Those sorts of things are very helpful to sort of keep the process streamlined, straightforward. The more we just keep it straightforward, obviously the better. But I've learned well enough to never say that anything is no risk. Okay.
Great. I believe the action would be to, for the board to give approval to continue to pursue this amendment. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to motion that, that we approve the two concepts for the BDR and empower Jesse Waddams and his team to continue lobbying this legislation.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second that, we have first and second, all in favor, say yes.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. None opposed, motion passes unanimously. We pursue. Thank you very much, Jesse. We appreciate it. Okay, continue to move forward. The next two items, D4, review, discussion, possible action to approve funding for the Nevada Museum of Art Deep Sea Dragons of Nevada exhibit in the amount not to exceed $50,000 in the total value, consisting up to $25,000 cash and up to $25,000 in kind sponsorship. The request for funding was presented and approved to the advisory capacity by the Financing Committee Facilities meeting on October 24th, 2024. And unless somebody has questions or comments or anything else, we can go right to vote. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, so can we have a motion?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'd like to see, Richard, is the RSCVA track room nights and what type of tourism hits and all the social media that goes with this. When you do things like these, I would love to see an accountability situation there.
Okay, no problem at all.
I think that should be just a formula that we have, and every time we do something like this, what are we getting for it? What benefit? Is it Reno Tahoe? Is it, that's all. I mean, something that shows you why we would give money out.
Kind of our ROI on this.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah, I would agree, Rick. I think that's important on all. Since the unsolicited proposals are new, it's a new category, and I would guess your team probably does that anyway. But really having that formula set in place, and then we would be able to track that, I think is important, Rick.
okay, great. Thank you. Looking for a motion?
I will.
So
We
we're
need-
looking for a sec.
Do we need to take action separately?
I was gonna do it separately, or can we do them all together?
Are we talking about E4 and E5?
You want a separate motion?
I mean, you could combine them if you wanted
Okay.
to, but we need
You
to
make
open
a motion.
Oh, well, I'll combine them.
Okay, so
I like both of these items.
So let me open E5 real quick so we could do that. So I'll open up E5, review, discussion, possible action to approve funding for Lake Tahoe Stewardship Council. Year 2, council membership request for an amount not to exceed $20,000. So looking for a motion for both E4 and E5.
Before we actually
Yes,
get
sir.
into that, I'd like to make a comment on E5 because I think in pre-board, this feels to me like something that should be it's an enduring request. It's been a request for a few years, and I think it's important for us to, I don't know that it's something that should come to a vote every year. I think it's just something that we should put in our budget and say that it's part of what we do on an annual basis as through that
Okay,
budget.
so here's, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 2 items open. We can do E4 just on that, and then on E5 add your
Just a comment in
Okay.
future years, so I'm happy to go through the motion now with both items.
Okay.
That's fine.
But you want that comment added?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Future years.
we can get that and note that, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
I love
Richard.
that comment.
Yes, sir.
With that comment.
yeah, okay, Rick,
Thank you, Richard. You know what I'd like to see? I mean, I appreciate it again. you know, it's Reno Tahoe. We're all one valley, one team. I would like to make sure that as we take care of each other, Reno takes care of us, Tahoe takes care of us, that they speak well and we work together. We don't work against each other, or we're not Renoites coming up to ruin the lake, or the valley is the devil. We're good people. We love the lake. The lake's part of our culture, our history. We grew up here. I hope this is just a stepping stone towards a better relationship with all our regional partners, because we need them, but we also need Reno's airport, the international airport. We need it to survive. So hopefully we all figure that one out real quick.
Okay, so we'll make those comments as well. Thank you.
I do have an extra question, probably either for Ben or for Mike. By renewing this, and I agree with John on making it part of the budget for next year, but for right now, under the unsolicited proposal, but by doing this sponsorship, does this allow us or enable us to have the one representative, which right now is Ben?
Right.
So that in essence, by being a sponsor, it allows you one seat at the table there.
That's correct.
And I think that's super important that we have Ben or someone else from RSCVA up there with our voices and our input, and then him bringing it back to us on what's going on up there. So we've got Greg there for the lake, but I think that gives us one more seat on all super important discussions that are going on with that group.
Agreed. Good point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I still have a motion, haven't had a second yet, but.
So you're adding all the comments.
No, so I don't know, yes, so we can have further discussion, but I will say that, so there was a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that I went to the strategic planning session for the stewardship program, and I think there's some really exciting messaging that's going to come out that RSCVA can make of our own about how we all care about the lake. And I think locals, I think Reno are locals to the lake. I grew up here. I believe I'm a local to the lake. And so I think that we all know how to take care of the lake. It's just making sure that the visitor knows how to take care of the lake, and kind of, instead of put your trash away, which has been the messaging of destination stewardship, it's more of an ethos. And I think we're going to see a really cool message come out on that. And I'm excited about the potential, and I just appreciate Ben's work on the stewardship council. And our Washoe County is also a partner on the council, so we're engaged as well.
Great. Good job. Okay, anything else before we put it to a vote?
Yes,
I just wanted to say, Vice Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very important that there are somebody to be part of this council, and I'm very happy to hear that there's not any objections to this spend.
Okay, and I think we had a comment from Chairman.
Yeah. So I'm in favor of the renewal. That is not a problem. I would like it to be on the agenda for discussion. And the reason being is I think it's always important to recognize the work, sort of the new endeavors that they're putting in place. It's just a really great way to continue the conversation of our support for Lake Tahoe. So I would say we could do the renewal, but I'd like it on there always for discussion, because we should recognize the work, and that allows our partnership to be stronger instead of just, there you go.
Okay, fair enough. I like that. Okay, any other comments, discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Good, motion carries unanimously. Okay. Moving onward, continuing to move forward. E6, discussion regarding the Reno Event Center pursuit of concert and events, and I believe you have a comment that needs to be read into the record.
Correct. So board member Squaga is out of the country, but he asked me to read this into the record on his behalf on this agenda item. My apologies that I'm unable to attend the December 19th Board of Directors meeting. In being absent, I would like to forward my comments and concerns regarding agenda item E6 for the record. In regards to agenda item E6, I am open for discussing the strategic direction of the Reno Event Center. If that involves discussing how we can better market and sell the venue or identify possible partners, I am in full support. I have much concern, however, if we are directing the RSCVA to be the actual entertainment buyer and would take risk on the risk of buying and promoting concerts. As you know, that is an extremely competitive field with a very high level of risk. From a fiduciary responsibility, I feel we as a board would be doing the organization a disservice As noted, this is a discussion item only, so I appreciate the opportunity to share my opinion and look forward to further dialogue with the board and your team. And I'll note that when he sent that, the draft agenda had this as a discussion item only. We set it for action to allow the board, if the board wants to take action to give the staff further direction in developing this. That's why it's an action item now. And I discussed with Mr. Esquaga, and he just asked me to reiterate that before, if the board wants to pursue this, that staff sort of develop and model a proposal to bring back for further board decision before we actually commit the organization to any promoting. So
our action would theoretically be more information, getting direction, giving direction, and further modeling for us to pursue this going forward.
that is Mr. Esquaga's request.
Okay, fair enough. So who's presenting?
Mr. Vice Chair, I can take this. So for the record, Mike Larigetta, this item was being brought forward to the board. This is part of our, if you all remember, when we transitioned to new leadership, there was a conscious effort to work on a facility activation plan for our facilities, whether we owned or operated. And obviously one of those facilities is a Reno Event Center. And one of the ways we looked at possibly moving forward and creating more activities and events and concerts within that venue was for the RSCVA to take a position of risk. Again, that would be a model that we would bring back to this board to demonstrate that we would be extremely conservative, and we're not foreseeing us putting another 10 or 15 events in that building on an annual basis. It would be something along the lines of 3 to 5, maybe 7 events on an annual basis. From a budget standpoint, we're obviously 6 months into the fiscal year. So if the board did want us to move forward, bring this back in January, present the model, have an action item, and if that decision was to move forward, we would utilize funds within the Event Opportunity Fund, which is Mrs. Segura's fund. This still is $500,000 that we have not used for any consumption events at this point. And once we got to the end of the fiscal year, when we go through the budgeting process in the spring, we bring back to this board in that budget for fiscal year 25-26 an allocation of money for REC events and concerts and opportunities in that building.
Okay, great. Then open it up for discussion. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
So yes, I want to say thank you for putting this on the agenda. I was a little confused of Stephen's comments when he said he was supportive of activation and supporting those downtown properties. So that seems like a little bit of a conflict there, but I would think that we would not approve anything unless it comes to the board. Mike, maybe you want to clarify that if you're going to put an event. I think it's really critical. That's been part of the problem, is that we have not activated any of those facilities, and we will continue to be in trouble and stay stagnant if we don't. It's really important to promote tourism regardless of where it stands. So I just want to know, I would think that we wouldn't approve anything. So we also don't know what that looks like. So you're putting the cart before the horse of saying we don't want events or activation in there, but being supportive of it. So can you help me understand, Mr. Larigetta? I would assume the board would see whatever plans that you have to move forward to, I guess, assess if it's a good fit. I just think that, you know, by saying no, we shut the door to actually doing what we say we were going to do, and the mission of the RSCVA to promote events, bring in tourism, room nights. So maybe you can clarify.
Madam Mayor, thank you, Mike Larigetta, for the record. Yes, we would, if the board wanted us to move forward, we would want to put together either a model that as long as we stayed within those boundaries or restrictions that the board was giving us the approval to move forward with it, whatever that may look like. It could be a monetary value, or to your point, Madam Mayor, we could bring back every opportunity for approval if we were bidding on a concert or event, which whatever this board see fit to be more appropriate, we can look at either option.
Do we lose opportunities by doing that, by going each event?
There is a possibility, and Joel is here today, who is our director of operations at REC, and he lives in this world. But I would think, Mr. East, yes, there potentially is risk if we had to come back to the board to seek approval to pursue, let's say, a concert, they may be looking at other cities, other locations, right? So yes, there could be risk based on just the delay time period.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen in the fact of, is it a good fit, right? So, but I really think, we've talked about this forever as a board, and nothing has happened. And it's the same conversation I've had for a long time about activating the bowling stadium to the level that it really needs to be. And it really is, all tides lift all boats, right? So either we want to or we don't. So I guess, but I would also say there would be parameters in place to make sure whatever you were looking at would be a good fit for, obviously, driving room nights.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, thank you again, Mike Larigata, for the record. One of the things we talked about internally as staff is that we wouldn't want this to be positioned as this, we're competing with the other stakeholders in the community. We're positioning it that we're trying to drive incremental events to the city. And one thing that I've shared in the pre-boards, and we talked about internally as staff, is that the communication, the transparency has to be forthright, right? We have to be having those conversations with the major stakeholders to ensure that if this was an opportunity to pursue, we want to make sure it fits the time of year, it fits the demographic, the genre, the customers that our stakeholders are looking to attract. Otherwise, we would just be out there in the booking concert business, and that's not what we want to be. We want to be bringing incremental events that are truly beneficial, not only to the downtown, but to the entire region, and create compression.
Yeah, I agree. It needs to be the right fit, not, the right business. Not all business is the right business.
It's quality versus quantity. So,
right.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. I just was wondering, how does it work today? I didn't see that and outline what I'm sorry, I'm obviously naive to what.
No, you're not. No, it's a very good question, Commissioner Hill. So again, Mike Larigata for the record. So, and maybe I'll have Joel come up and speak at the podium, but I'll give it a shot. So right now, the majority of the entertainment opportunities, whether that be Disney on Ice or whether that be a concert, a lot of those come through Caesars Entertainment.
Right, that's what I thought.
And so they are taking the risk the majority of the time. We will do what they call help me Joel, co-pro on occasion, which limits our risk significantly, but those are pretty rare. I mean,
what is that? What is an example of what that is?
Sorry.
Well, I can stand up here, go up there, whatever.
Why don't you come up to the post?
Okay, well, I shave, so you're good.
Just so Zoom can see you.
Hi, I'm Joel Sutton, and how the co-pro is structured is that we have no risk. There is no risk. It's well known in the business that it's called zero risk. If you really want to start bringing people back here, what happens is that, and it's well known that since this is not the place it used, there was a time where everybody wanted to come to the REC. I've only been in town for 2 years, but I can tell you from doing business with promoters that they go to other places. Why? Because some of the other places are newer. It depends upon routing. And routing is, where does the performer want to go? Can they fit in between Salt Lake City, Sacramento, here or there? When was the last time they were here? These are all the analytics that are done. The co-pro, as a rule, is that we're going to make a little bit of money, but we're not going to lose any money. Now, to bring people back to the REC was really the grand dame for a long time of concerts. Everybody wanted to come here. It was different. It was a great route where you have Thunder Valley now. You also have competing casino hotels that are willing to spend $35,000 more than what was offered for us, because that's what they want to do. They want to own the entertainment. They want all the entertainment to go there. So the object is to put the REC back on the map of those promoters, those agents, and those performers. You may have to take a little risk. Maybe the risk, it will always be zero, but how badly do you want to bring entertainment back to the REC? How badly do you want to bring entertainment back to Reno? It should be when people want to go someplace. I'm originally from Atlantic City, and I don't have to tell you what went on there. I was there pre-gaming.
I was there for gaming, and I was there, and I left there to go to Vegas for 28 years. Now, one of the things that, being at a couple really good properties, were very small, was everybody looked at those properties first. Let me look here, let me look, I was at the Sands, the smallest casino in Atlantic City. They had the highest win per square foot. Why? Because of gaming. Golden Nugget, smallest casino in Atlantic City, second highest win per square foot of gaming. Why? Because of entertainment. People looked at those places first. They didn't look anywhere else because they knew that it was something that was being offered. And I think this is what we have to do for the REC to bring it and put it back on the map. We're doing that now. We're getting a lot of positive questions and inquiries because I put it out there. I've gone to a lot of different functions and conventions, and we are back on the map. And it's just a matter of do the dollars work? Do the dollars work to bring people here? Does it work to route people? And the thing is that once people have been routed to an area numerous times, the ticket sales fall off. So this could be our year to come back, where people want to come here. They haven't been here for 2 or 3 years, or they've never been here, or they like coming through here. On the financial end, on a co-pro, the object is for us to be have zero risk. Maybe we make a little money on a couple different ways of facility fees, things like that. But these promoters have to make money. They're not going to do it unless they make money. There are other ways where they're direct buys.
Yeah, and I think it's also important. I'm sorry, John, just going to comment, and I should have put this out there initially, but again, if the board advise us to move forward in some capacity, I think it's important to recognize that we would identify, we know what the capacities are of our indoor facilities in the community, right? We know what the seat capacity of GSR is, or Silver Legacy, or whatever it may be. Again, that comes down to communication and transparency. Joel would not be on the phone trying to book a indoor concert for 2,000 people, because we know that is going to compete with our stakeholders. So we would be looking at seat capacities, let's say of 3,000 to 6,000, because right now that window is pretty limited, especially on the indoor side. Now on the outdoor concerts, we wouldn't be competing with the J or the Nun. Those are larger venues. They're generally going after larger foot traffic and larger volume. We'd really be looking at that sweet spot, say of 3,000 to 6,000. Now, where you can get into scenarios that you have to look at very quickly, and to Joel's point is, you may have a venue from a stakeholder in town that has a lower capacity but may overpay for that artist because of the demographic they may draw from a gaming perspective. We would have to look at those and make sure we're not competing with someone that we know can fill 4,000 seats, but they only want to fill 2,500 somewhere else.
Can I also say something too, please? We did a study internally with our little 20 group of people. And this past year, January to September, and it was a lean year. When I came in, January 1st, around there was a lot of proposals. And very few of them came through because these performers decided to choose from someplace else. But I will tell you, and I do have the data to back this up, that we took all the ticket sales from for all of our events that were concerts, and we backed out all the local zip codes. So there was all those people who bought tickets were from this area. We backed it out, and we figured in, I guess through probably the chamber and whatever report was done, the ADR, and figuring that on all those events that people stayed 2 nights on all the ticket holders, and then an average daily spend for 2 people, and for the total amount of money, again, and we do have the economics for this, it was $10 million in this area. When you figure the total amount of tickets that we sold, back out the local people because they're not staying in hotel rooms, and add in ADR and average daily spend, it's $10 million that we contributed to this area. And that's on a lean year. If we were busy and we were really motivated and moving, it could be twice that amount of money. So what I'm saying is we're not doing this just for ourselves, it's for the entire area.
Thanks, Sean.
I just really quick, if I'm fine moving forward, with a proposal from staff, some background, some history, you know, Reno owns it, right? We manage it. That kind of stuff would be helpful just to understand how businesses run today, and then that would be helpful for me in making the decision. So.
Yeah, and this is, you know, this, again, Mike Vergara, at one time in this organization, that was the model. We were in the risk game.
Right.
So this is.
So bringing it back, so I guess giving us a little history that when we did that, what we spent, if there's any, that's gonna help me with, you know, making the decision.
So it sounds like, Charlie, please.
Thank you, Richard. I'm kind of on the same page with Commissioner Hill. I guess knowing Joel came here and understanding, like right now, trying to book in our activation. And I think you give us for all of our facilities, livestock is crazy busy. We've increased everything in bowling. All of our numbers on activating, I think we've been moving in a pretty good direction for every facility in the almost 4 years I've been on this board, seen it gone up. And I know bringing purpose of having Joel there and a separate bowling stadium manager were all reasons to keep it activated, to keep it well managed. So I guess what I'm looking for on this is, and I understand, like, being the promoter and the risk with that causes me some concern, but what would be different if we pursued looking into this of what would Joel not be Joel, or does John McGinnis and sales bring people in, or is it solely Joel, and how would that differ? Would it be co-pros we're looking at, or actually being the promoter? So that's where I'm kind of like unsure of what direction you're considering for us to send you forward and bring us more info.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Councilman Bidey. Mike Vergara again for the record. So we don't know exactly what that model looks like yet, right? We've had discussions of, do we partner with a Live Nation? Do we partner with an AAG? And you know, that's where we really have to. The point of today was just to get an idea from the board on whether this is something that we wanted to look into further before we did all the due diligence and the research and the homework and got options on the table. We wanted to just get a feel from the board on whether this is something they felt was viable to look into. So we don't know. We probably don't want to be in the promoter game, to your point, right? We would look for as many co-pros as possible. We would look at maybe partnering with a Live Nation or an AEG.
So it would be not necessarily adding to what Joel is already doing on managing the facility, acquiring new. Is he not right now, is he currently pursuing new events, or does that come under Valerie in our opportunity fund? I mean, I guess who would we be looking at to do this?
Valerie Segara is Director of Event Development, but that could be in any facility, any hotel, any park, anywhere, right? This is Joel's primary responsibility and sole responsibility is over the operations of the REC, just for that building. Now, could Valerie find an event that fits into the REC, a concert? Sure, absolutely. A festival, you bet. But Joel's role would expand into going from purely operating the facility to actually now booking the facility. So right now, anything that we're getting is generally coming through inquiries that are coming to us. Joel has those relationships, but we haven't tasked him with going out and knocking down doors and booking business because we don't have that model currently that allows us to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think Rick has a question, comment. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I've got questions, please. First thing is, Joel has the ability to work with the Caesars Entertainment guys as well. I mean, they may have somebody, Joel may have somebody bring it to them. What really makes this thing work in the city is that everybody that has a casino that, and you get the right entertainer in there or entertainment, you get heads in beds, people in restaurants, you get activation. So, I mean, this is really pretty simple. And there's enough, I think, expertise to go find and open up the REC to be open for the concert business or the entertainment business, call it whatever you want. But, you know, I know Mike has kicked around Las Vegas events, and we've got Chad, the bowling specialist. We've got Valerie, the event specialist. And now we got Joel, the entertainment specialist. I think it's critically important that as we hire these folks, we go give them the weapons to fill the facilities. And we've never done a good job at RSCVA. We have not done it right. And I think this is the most critical time right now. We're going to get competitive here, and we're going to need to get those buildings running, and we're going to need to get even the building out south is going to need some type of entertainment or whatever it may be, special events. But this is our time. This is our time. We keep, let's don't put a little piece together. Let's put something strong. Let's be strong like Vegas would be. Let's be Reno events. Let's do something. Gotta go.
Thank you, Rick. John?
Yes, sir.
And then I'll get.
Yeah, I agree that, I mean, I think to Charlene's point about how we've activated all the other facilities, the REC has fallen behind in terms of activation opportunities. Where we were, I can't remember, 14 events or so a year, we're now at, 10 to 11. And I see this as something when we talk about reinvesting in our facilities, what we just did with the track and all the benefits, and certainly that's a capital expense, and this will be an operating expense. But if it's an operating expense that exists in the budget already, and we're willing to put some guardrails around it so that we're not competing against our constituency, I feel like this is a great thing to do for that venue. We just don't have the capital opportunity to put in it once it's refurbished. I mean, the box is the box. And so I think this is a great thing for us to take a look at and see if it's something that we can get the board to support, because I think it's a real opportunity for the RSC. And I think if we don't do it, then we've got to think about, well, what's the future of it, right? What's it gonna look like?
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
So it sounds like we're at the 30,000 foot level. We just need direction from you to bring us down to the next level. So, based on the input that we've all given here, I think it's giving you guys some direction of what we're in theory looking for. So come January, you can have a more formalized proposal as to what this would look like. And I think that's what we're all looking for here, correct? Yes, sir.
So the action today is we are giving staff the power to pursue concerts and events at REC.
I think what we're acting today is to pursue to get us more information, give direction, further modeling, so we can eventually get to that point. I don't think we're at that point yet. We need more information as to a business plan in theory.
Correct.
To move forward. So we're not going to go forward saying, yes, go ahead and start doing this. I think we need more information to do that. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, don't we have events at REC? Like I went there to see Disney on Ice with my kids.
Yeah, we generally, sorry, Mike already did it, but we generally do not own the booking relationship for those events in that venue.
Right.
So
that's put on by Caesars. So what we're looking for is to kind of put some guardrails, like you said, but pursue it a little bit more. But we don't know how we can do that yet until we get more information from you and model it in a business plan proposal.
I think that's correct, Mr. J. I think we could come back January, February at the latest and present to this board a model or models that we think makes the most sense for us moving forward at the RSCVA as it relates to the REC.
Because we don't have those models yet per se, and there's still a lot of concern.
A lot of discussion at this point, right? But to earlier comment, we have not engaged Live Nation or AG to see what that would look like, if it looks that anything that is promising or not. I don't know, but we also haven't had a deep discussion about, what kind of funds are we looking at to allocate to that line item in the budget that would make sense over the course of a year, because of the way that those events work.
We just need more information to decide how we move forward.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ed? Okay.
So
Yeah, please.
we have,
Give you a little backstory of how we got here, so everyone understands. So how we got here is through the relationship with the Conference of Mayors of Live Nation and other booking venues. I've asked them, why aren't you doing more events in Reno? And they said, well, Reno's really not on the radar because we typically look at CVBs, we look at, city level, and you guys are not a player. And so I went to Mike, I said, I don't understand why we're not activating our facilities more. And he said, because we have not been ever in the driver's seat of looking at events or booking them. I think this has been part of the problem that has not been discussed for a long time because maybe some other, I guess, properties look at it as competition. I believe you want Reno to rise or you don't. And it's one of the reasons why on the national level, Reno sort of has this, it's not open for business. I don't think that that is good. And I think it's just the same as marketing and advertising. The more you market and advertise Reno, Tahoe, the destinations, Tahoe, whatever, that it becomes top of mind for people. And the more you do that, you know that you have to touch point at least 12 times. And so to me, it makes sense that we would continue the momentum. But it's one of the reasons why the momentum hasn't been there and no one has wanted to address this for years. So again, either we want to be very relevant in the space or we don't. And that's where I'm frustrated when I hear that on the national level for events and for entertainment, like Meow Wolf, which is amazing, there's been a lot of interest and we're not doing it. And we all sit there and go, well, why isn't Reno, booking events in these facilities? Well, this is why. So that's where I stand. So either we get the opportunity for this board to address a situation that hasn't been addressed in probably a decade. And it's one of the reasons why I went to Mike and I said, what are you guys doing? And he said, well, here's sort of been the landscape. And I don't see it as competition when you're looking at much bigger capacity than another property could hold. We are not a big enough city to where it's going to cannibalize itself. That's not how this works. So I want to move forward. I don't want to sit there and say, we're going to study this, bring it back. I mean, I think we need to say, okay, what does it look like? Yes. But I think everyone needs to decide, do you want Reno to be relevant or not? And it's no different. Called Las Vegas. They have Las Vegas events. It works the same way in Las Vegas. And we're always sitting there going, gosh, Las Vegas is doing a phenomenal job. That's because their CVB has the ability to do the same thing. It's called Las Vegas events, and Reno should have Reno events. So that's how we got here. I said, Mike, put it on the agenda. This board is forward thinking, and I think they want Reno to be on the map. So that's how we got here.
So, Madam Mayor, what you're looking for is the board to give direction today to move forward and come up with a plan to present to the board for hopefully in January, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Richard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have to speak for two hats because I see that all know that Harvey's venue works for at least 8 concerts a summer, but Tahoe needed more. South Tahoe needed more. So they built an event center across the street. You don't think that all the properties work together? There's no difference between Reno and Little South Tahoe. They all work together to put bodies in there in times of need, when you need people downtown. This is such an opportunity to cut off the ether and figure out how to actually use our facilities and spend the money to do it, and quit worrying about who gets what. If you're good at your business, you'll get your piece, you'll get your fair share. You see, I'm telling you, the event center in Tahoe Blue and Harvey's, they thrive. You get one of those concerts up there, that impacts the whole week. I guarantee you of tourism up in that area. You see it in Carson Valley. So this is, to me, we keep playing around. Let's get to this. Let's get it done. Let's do the right thing by Reno for once.
Okay, well then let's get a motion to
Can I?
yes, sir.
So we book things at other facilities, right? We do it,
Not in the concert landscape.
but we book things. We're booking things.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yes,
You don't, as a board, we're not giving you permission on what to book.
correct,
You get to do it.
correct.
Because that's your job. And so I guess I'm struggling, like, what do we need to study?
Yes,
What's the study here? Why can't we just authorize staff to book?
Sure, so and Mike, step in if I'm wrong, but I think what we're really talking about here is when we do no risk co-pro events. There's no risk of the RSCVA losing money. The business model we're talking about is basically becoming an at-risk promoter. So we would book an event, we would commit to pay for that event. If the ticket sales don't cover our costs, we could lose money on that event.
Right.
And so that's the model that Mike is talking about wanting to implement. And figure out if the board has an appetite for that, and if it does, sort of what are the parameters around those types of events and what level of risk is the board willing to tolerate? Because right now we don't.
Yeah, when we book a convention or we book an event, we don't have any financial risk.
You know how many years it took to get Hot August Nights profitable and going? How many years did it take to get some of those events going? It took years, it took 3 years to be profitable. So you got to think in a bigger scale of business. Take the best shot at profitability at the best event. And then you'll get there.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're saying. I think what we're looking for is just, let's get some parameters on this in January. And let's move forward. Nobody's saying that we don't want to do this.
Right.
We just need to figure out how to do it. And
Specifics.
yes, so you can present to the board the specifics and we can start moving. Take the vote in January, in theory. I know it's gonna put pressure on you and your staff, but let's get it on the agenda for January and let's move forward with this. Okay, so let's make sure we're doing it right.
So I move, Mr. Vice Chair, that staff presents in January a business plan proposal for an at-risk concert event promotion in all of our facilities.
Okay.
We're just talking REC at this point.
REC, Reno REC. Yeah. Okay.
We don't want to stand it.
Okay, second.
We probably shouldn't, sorry.
Well, let me get a second.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't restrict ourselves just to REC to that point.
Yeah, you need to do it all.
So your motion, as it is, that covers the broad. If you need to kind of fine tune it for your presentation in January, fine. So let's get a second on it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is build your model, present it to the board in January, and then we'll just move from there.
Discussion.
Yes.
Okay, Mike, can you explain, do you not have a model now? Because I would like to, if this motion doesn't pass, I would like to give the motion to book events. Do you have a model now? I think Eddie made a very, very good point. He's saying you book now. What's the difference? Why can't we give you the tools to go and do that? So maybe you can explain that to me.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, so Mike Clarigator for the record. So it's two completely different segments, right? So when we're booking our facilities and we're booking a hotel, that contract is between us and the renter or us and the hotel. When you're talking about entertainment as itself, you're signing a contract with that promoter or with that entertainer. So that isn't a model that we do not currently have. We did 10 years ago, but we do not have that now. And so I think that just to simplify this is the difference is the RSCVA is when it comes to entertainment is not taking any financial risk at this time. We would be asking the board to allow us to do that. We would look at potential entertainer, time of year, programming, days of the week, how many people they would draw, what's their genre, and then we would, with communication stakeholders, hopefully, but we would have enough knowledge within our staff to say that entertainer makes sense in that venue on that day.
Mike, wouldn't you let your staff though? Wouldn't you have your staff telling you what they should be booking in those buildings? Won't they be able to go out and find the future for us and say, hey, Mike, we need to book Tears for Fears. We got it.
No, absolutely, Mr. Murdoch. Yes. So if we come back and we present this model and the board wants to move forward, Joel is going to become a entertainment booker. He is going to be having conversations with producers, with Live Nations, potentially AEGs and entertainment, and looking at what that performer would look like and making a recommendation to staff. And whether that comes to the board every time, or is just, if we had a template that is established, that would probably make it easier. And then we're just gonna start booking.
Go.
And Mike, isn't this the same model as Las Vegas events?
So Las Vegas, again, Mike Clear, again for the record, Las Vegas events books more than just entertainment. Las Vegas events actually oversees NFR, National Finals Rodeo. They do a lot of their activities are in Mesquite and in Laughlin. So they do equine events, they do the monster trucks, they do those type of events. They at one time oversaw the Mountain West basketball tournament when it was in Las Vegas, or still is in Las Vegas. That has now moved on directly between the hotels and the conference basketball tournaments. But LV Events is a part of the RSCVA. They have their own budget. Most of their activity now is in Laughlin and Mesquite on their events.
Okay, any other?
In a second.
And
We have a motion in a second. Mayor, yes?
Can you expand other areas to book very similar? From what I understood, this is sort of the same model, and we've talked about Reno Tahoe events for a long time.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, Mayor. So when we made the decision to bring Valerie on, that was the first step to create a Reno events model. Obviously, they had a staff of probably north of 30 people at Las Vegas events, but we had to show that we could open the doors, establish relationships, and get people interested in bringing their concert festival event to Reno. It just takes time. It's like booking a convention. The USARS example I gave today was extremely rare. Most of the time when we're booking a major program for the future, it's 3 to 4 years into the future. So we don't think that window is going to be that long in the concert world, but we have to start, and we have to start knocking on those doors and get people here to see the destination, and then we start seeing progress. It just takes a little time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say the same. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Great discussion here, and I think, Mike, you're gonna have some work in front of you, but
yes, sir.
We'll be looking forward to it. Okay, item number E7, approval of the 2025 board meeting schedule.
There is a schedule attached.
Okay, it's in the packet.
Page 68.
Students or comments?
The biggest change I'd see in there is our meetings changing from 9 to 10 AM. Is there a reason for that?
Sharon?
Well, the other boards that I sit on, Commissioner Hill has asked that we start later due to family responsibilities. I thought it would be nice to honor that.
Page 68
68
in the packet.
So I would like to motion to move forward.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Can I ask, some more work for you, Myra, but can we send out calendar invites in advance for all? Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, item G, board member announcements, reports and updates. I'm gonna just say a quick one on the airport. Parking's tight. Parking's gonna be tight for a while. Uber, Lyft, taxi, rideshare, whatever you can do. But it's gonna be like this for the next 2 years until that ground transportation center gets completed. And that, any other comments from board members?
I'd like to make one last one.
Yes, sir.
I got to thank you, Richard, the airport, and the RASC team, Tahoe, RASC, Reno. RSCVA has really put a lot of time and effort to put together this new program we have going forward. And it's exciting because it benefits the whole region, not Reno, not Tahoe, but it benefits all of us. So I just want you to know that it's critical. Keep up the good work at the airport. The RCVA is really getting gangbusters going because, again, you need concerts, heads and beds, butts and seats, people eating in restaurants.
There you go.
Amen.
Thank you. It's been an honor serving with you, Eddie.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. And again, this is not political, but since Mayor is on and she and her council just had a conversation recently, and voted on, some sensitive topics, I wanted to share a narrative that happened about, 2 weeks ago. I had some folks come in from Santa Barbara business individuals in the tech space. And they're like, hey, Eddie, where do we go? What's a fun thing to do in Reno? And I said, let's go straight to the river, right? So we went downtown to the river. I brought my kids, they had their kids as well. We had a couple of people had some dogs on a leash. And so we're walking and, first of all, compliments, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I mean, such an amazing asset to the region. The point I'm getting to is, unfortunately, we were confronted by clouds of marijuana smoke with my kids at multiple iterations. We had to cross over because it appeared there were individuals sleeping or laying on the walk at various parts, and I was with this group, this family. They were moving quickly through one of the parks over the lake, and because there were 2 pit bulls off leash and we had dogs, so we were trying to move away from them, and of course following them up. The worst thing that could happen for me is stepping in a ginormous pile of dog poo, which happened to me, and I was just ruined the Sunday. We have such a great community, we have such a great treasure, and I know that this is a problem, and we want to treat everyone with respect and dignity, but the dynamics down in downtown with the homeless population has gotten pretty bad. And so I want to applaud the mayor and her council for the work that they've done, because we're here to promote tourism and people to come here. And it was a little embarrassing that I brought they're CEOs of tech companies with their families, and I had that experience around the lake. And so it's one anecdote. I know there's many other stories and narratives, but again, that was more of an applaud to the council and doing something that I think is needed for the downtown region, especially our Truckee River corridor.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for the comment.
Eddie, can I just say, Eddie,
Yeah.
so much, I appreciate your support. But I also want to say this is a very good reason that when you turn on lights, things change. The more activities you have in every capacity, that sort of element does not continue. We've seen with Midtown, look at the difference in Midtown. That was my baby. And look at it today. And it's a very, very different part of the city. And again, when you put in more businesses, more events, then it tends to change the dynamic. So I really appreciate that. So all the more reason to get the REC going and everything else in every capacity. We also have put in more door units, more housing units than we've seen in over a decade down there, and businesses. So it's moving, but I appreciate the support very much, Eddie, because it's a sensitive topic and we have to have compassion. And at the same time, we have to make sure that we have a safe city. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, our final item, I'll adjourn this meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, okay, public comment.
No public comment.
No public comment. Okay, with that, I can call us adjourned. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever else, and be safe.
Great job, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you.